Hello, everybody. My name's Ed Pavlik. I'm in Lexington, Kentucky, and I welcome you to another GYN Garage. The weather here is rainy, but in the 60s. That's a 17 centigrade. My colleague today to keep me dry is
Frank Lawton from London in the United Kingdom. Here it's about -2 C with a wind chill factor. It has been raining for, well, it's almost biblical the amount of rain that we've had, but at least it seems to be warming up a little bit. But it's only February. This is England. We've got a way to go before we get some real warmth, I think.
well, Frank. It looks like this is not the year of England or the UK at the Winter Olympics. But if you count Canada on the English side, Australia, New Zealand, in the UK group, then you get two medals ahead of the US. So that conglomerate works, uh, but not by itself. Okay.
Well,
Uh,
we've got Great Britain have got 3 gold medals, which, considering our highest mountain in the whole of the island is under just over 4,000 feet. We're not really an alpine country and we don't get a lot of snow. So I reckon getting 3 gold medals, basically sliding down a slope on a tea tray, which is what 2 of the medals were, is pretty impressive. We're in the semi-finals tonight. The men are in the semi-finals curling, and there's somebody else. So,
well, there you
it's
are. Well,
possible.
I'm telling you, where the U.S. is ahead of England with regard to prominent people being investigated for ties to Jeff Epstein. Uh, we've got 10 under investigation where you only have four. What do you think
Yeah.
about all this mess?
Well, interestingly, I don't know if the news has hit you yet, but Andrew, former Prince Andrew, has been arrested. The police were in his place in Sandringham, which is one of the royal residences, this morning, and he was taken into custody, not because of not because of the paedophilia possible problems, but with what he may or may not have done when he was an envoy, a trade envoy for the United Kingdom government. And it is likely or possible that he gave people like Epstein information about trade that would be detrimental to the companies, but would be a help to people like Epstein and other people who might be investing in money in the companies. So he's now in police custody, answering charges, and the police have been around all the various residences, finding information from Epstein and everybody else. It's a heck of a business.
Yeah, well, it is what it is, or it will be what it will
Absolutely.
be.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
today we're going to consider the question, does quadrivalent HPV vaccination reduce the frequency of high-grade vulvovaginal lesions? The answer to this question is approached in a paper titled Quadrivalent Human Papillomavirus Vaccine. This paper was published in JAMA Oncology recently. What it really does is compares young vaccinated and unvaccinated women in terms of the incidence of high-grade vulvovaginal lesions as both a function of their age at vaccination and the year of vaccination. Here's what I think about this paper. Um, the the long and the short of it is, if I can get this slide up to deal with, is that a large number of people were involved in the study, and in the two groups, there's a 250,000 and 500,000 people in the unvaccinated group. The follow-up of the study uh, overall reached to 17 years. And so you start off pretty good coming out of the gate. The other thing is that they sort of ask the right questions. Um, the older women who are older girls who are vaccinated probably have a greater chance of having been infected with the papillomavirus than the younger girls. And so they've looked at the higher group risk and the probably average group risk. And what they've come up with is a follow-up for 12 years with the younger girls and 10 years for the older girls. Now, those follow-up periods fall short of the overall follow-up for the unvaccinated people. But it's a good, and it's fair to say that the follow-up for those who have been vaccinated probably is adequate. A statistician may say, well, it'd be nice if they were all followed for the same period of time, and that adjustment certainly can be made. So that's not a big thing, but it is a difference. In the end, and bearing in mind that we're not talking about cancers, but high-grade vulvovaginal lesions, the vaccinated group had 98 of these, and the unvaccinated group had 547 of these. If you take the referent, being the 547 group, and call their evaluation 1, that risk then decreases to 40% less in the vaccinated group. Now that's overall. And what you see here also is the risk is lower for the younger girls, meaning that probably because they have not had a chance to be infected prior to vaccination, the vaccine will be much more effective. If we look at the problem of the when in time these girls were vaccinated, at the very beginning, which is you had to pay for it type of period, if we call that the referent, and look at what happened to the next group, which is the group where there's partial subsidies, and then at the last group where basically free vaccination was probably available, we can see a 20% decrease with the second group, another 40% decrease in the group that basically was fully covered. Overall, there is a difference in the number of deaths in the two groups, and it's probably about 100% or more difference. And this is all-cause death. But this summarizes really, what they did. They found that basically, if you're going to study for vulvovaginal lesions of high grade, that the quadrivalent vaccine seemed to be quite effective, and probably as we move forward, definitely should be used on an ongoing basis. Now, the thing that we have to keep in mind here is that how good the data actually looks, and so if we do that, we see this incidence graph of ongoing incidence, and basically the unvaccinated group has the highest incidence of these lesions. The vaccinated group of older girls basically is intermediate to the younger girls right here. So the data presented in this table is to me very convincing and dramatic. Overall, I would say that we can start from going from crude to adjusted. We can see that the crude values show that the vaccinated incidence is lower than the unvaccinated in this area right here. If we if the adjustment just for age is made, once again, it's of the same sort of relative sense. And if every adjustment that was possible with this data could be made, it still represents a sizable decrease in incidence in the vaccinated group. And also, if you look at basically how age enters into the picture just numerically, those adjusted for age alone have a serious decrease in risk for the younger girls. And when you adjust for everything, that adjustment still shows that the greatest lowering of incidence happens with the younger girls. So that's what the story is all about. And I think what I really want to emphasize, the pros for this study was adequate sample size, the inclusion of age at vaccination, as well as the timing of vaccination with regard to paying for the vaccine, basically, as opposed to it being freely available. And, we have to realize early on, the opportunistic vaccinations, were done in a very few number of people, but basically this was self-pay. When subsidization began, the number of girls that were being vaccinated increased. And then when the catch-up phase for older girls was and that was a free phase, as well as a school vaccination period, that's where the most of the events occurred. So, I think you have to take all these things into consideration to say, well, how does the whole combination of factors weigh? And I think at every step, it's pretty positive in favor of vaccination providing a benefit. I think leaving out people who had been vaccinated was a obvious step that they did, including the birth age was also very good, and using the incident rate ratios, I think, displayed the numbers very well. My really question that I have to do, as I've already mentioned, with regard to the follow-up periods. Would it be better that the unvaccinated girls had a cutoff of, say, 11 years, something like that, to make them closer to the years that were done in the vaccinated group? And the big question, too, is we don't know anything about the HPV status. We don't know anything about the papillomavirus status, what subtype it was it even there? So that's the way I sort of looked at things. Overall, there's two things with regards to evaluating a paper, whether you like it or you don't like it. But part of the don't like it phase is you don't think much of it because it's either answering a question incompletely or you haven't written the paper up so that it's very clear. Frank, I'm going to turn it over to you. What do you think?
Yes, I think if anybody argued against vaccination for HPV, then this paper will hopefully show that it has a very, very positive impact on the development of lower genital tract lesions in girls, and also, of course, in penile, perianal, and probably oropharyngeal neoplasms as well, all associated with HPV. So the only problems I have with it, I mean, I agree with you entirely. I think it's a very good paper. The numbers are good. I think the statistics are excellent. It's interesting that they've just chosen the vaccinated group to have only one vaccination. And I've looked at the Swedish data, and they do suggest that there should be two doses given between the ages of 9 and girls between the age of 9 and 14, 6 months apart. And if you're greater than 50, older than 15, then you should have 3 doses. And clearly they were looking for more numbers. So there's a group of patients here that probably in more modern terms have been unvaccinated or under vaccinated, should I say. Although of course that the results still speak for themselves, even if they've been under vaccinated, it still gives a protection against the papillomavirus and its sequelae. As you've mentioned, I think one of the problems is we don't know what these girls' HPV status was before the vaccination. And we also, of course, don't know whether they were sexually active before the vaccination. They chose the cutoff point at 17 because that's the median age of what is called the sexual debut or first sexual activity. So that was the cutoff between sexually active women over the age of 17, sexually inactive women under the age of 70. And I'm not sure that actually that is good enough from that point of view. Also, I think one of the problems is there's no histology. They talk about vulvovaginal lesions. We don't know whether these women had actually cervical lesions, whether these were anorectal lesions. We don't even know whether they were all squames. Were these adeno lesions? Were they melanomas? There's no, as far as I know, I cannot find any histology review. So they're assuming that, I assume, everybody, all these girls developed squamous cell precancerous or cancerous lesions. The other thing is that the co-variables, rather than I think look at things like smoking and sexual activity, which are associated, of course, with the development of abnormal cervical problems, they chose instead things like parental education and household income, and whether or not there was a parental history of papillomavirus infection. And I think they're all a bit, they are irrelevant to this argument. I don't think you can use those as a surrogate to say whether or not these girls were at risk of papillomavirus just because of the household median income, or whether or not their parents had developed an HPV-related problem. So I think there are problems with it, including, as you mentioned, I think that the shorter follow-up for the vaccinated girls. But obviously, by definition, since the Swedish government introduced essentially free catch-up vaccines for older girls, they're bound to have a shorter follow-up. It'd be very interesting paper in 10 years' time to see whether or not, with a longer follow-up for the vaccinated group, or the catch-up vaccinated group, what happens to them. I think it's a very interesting paper, and it should be well recognized that this is important.
Absolutely. I think really what stands out to me is that the country has developed a system of capturing health data that is, terrific. It's just, just excellent. And the group itself had a problem to solve, that the data that's captured relative to health factors doesn't go into the same bucket or the same pile. They have it in different databases and for different reasons. So the group has done an excellent job of figuring out how to get a relevant factor from one source that's sort of defined by probably the country, and maybe some that are not, into a common summary that they could write up this paper with. And I think that's not a small task. I mean, I think they
Absolutely.
so.
Yes, I think they should be congratulated. I think the data collection and the data interpretation for what data they have is extremely good. There are some missing data, but that's, as you've often said, that's what they've got to play with, and I think they've played with it extremely well.
Well, very good. I think I don't know whether I should say this or not, but what impressed me the most too was they didn't have 5,000 authors on the paper for a work that was this gigantic. I thought the number of authors was very appropriate. So
Yes, you know our feelings about multi-authors. Everybody gets a go. Yes, even the person who opened the door for the coffee in the morning probably gets on some papers.
yeah, that happens. Well, Frank,
Yeah.
we've done it again, and I understand you're going to warm weather very quickly.
We are next week. We're off to the Caribbean for 2.5 weeks, which we're looking forward to. Get away from the British weather. I'll let you know what's happening. I'll send you a postcard.
Sounds good. I'm sure you'll be able to find one. Okay, well, we'll do this again after you get back.
Okay, again. Nice to see you again. Take care.
Good to see you, Frank.
Bye bye now.
Bye-bye.